نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. Arguing, debating and discussing on matters which are beyond our limits and remit and our understanding, it is highly disliked. We shouldn't be arguing, especially in Ramadan, and wasting our time and having ill feeling towards each other. And we all know that in those debates and arguments, we don't achieve anything. We can't convince the other party, rather we just leave with bad taste in our mouth against each other. That's not the idea of Ramadan. Well, even in life. To argue and debate on matters which are differed upon by the seasoned scholars is disliked. And for common men, impermissible. They're not supposed to discuss. It's not just say, oh, I'm doing da'wah. You can't. It's not the remit of a common man to argue on such matters. Now, coming to the points, the issues, did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala create Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam from his nur, from his light? Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blew his soul, well, whatever soul there was, into Adam alayhi salam. Now, everyone has got some element of light in them, our soul, which is light, not body. Some is spirit, some is spirituality. Our eyes have light in it. What is the reality of that? Not known. Are we supposed to know it? No. Is that part of Aqidah? No. If we don't believe in it, does it matter? No. All we need to believe in that there is a thing called soul, a spirit in our body, which is immortal. Immortal in the sense that it is not a matter that would come to an end. Rather, it would just transform into or transfer back to the Illiyin if it was a righteous soul, or to Sijjin if it was the wretched one. So now the hadith which some scholars mention about the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first one was the nur of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So do they believe that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was created with light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as though he is part of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like Isa alayhi salam is part of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala according to Christian belief as his son? Do we think Allah has got some of his part into Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as God? So obviously this is shirk. But do you think any believer believes that? Do you think anyone would even think about that? Not at all. Not at all. It's haram and it's kufr to even, it's shirk, associating partners to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what do they mean by that? They say, because of this hadith, which actually is weak hadith, is not sahih hadith, and even if the hadith is sahih, it does not establish aqidah point. Even if some scholar, one or two, would say, oh, hadith is sound enough, it does not establish aqidah. For aqidah, one has to have a hadith which is not just one, rather it is massively transmitted, a recurrent, a mutawatir hadith. So you can't even get one sahih hadith, let alone mutawatir hadith. So aqidah cannot be established other than decisive proofs, definitive proofs, which is either from Quran, categorical ayat from Quran, obviously with regards to its meaning as well, or hadith mutawatira, massively transmitted hadith, or the ijma' of ummah. Ijma', the consensus of ummah, the ulama of ummah. If you do not have any of these, the aqidah is not essential, is not part of Islam or Iman. It doesn't oblige anyone to believe in that to become a Muslim. So none of the scholars would say that. That's essential aqidah, so it is not part of that essential aqidah. Then there is orthodox aqidah. Is this part of orthodox aqidah? Not at all. Orthodox aqidah would be where the consensus of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah is established. That all the scholars of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah agree that this is what we believe in as orthodox compared to heterodox beliefs of other 72 sects of Muslims who are Ahlul Bid'ah in their Aqidah, like Shia, Rawafid, Jahmiya, Karramiya, but they are Muslims. Deviant ones though. So they can have that view, but among Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, there is no discrepancy, no difference on that. So again, so this is not part of that either, because none of the Ummah, or majority of the Ummah doesn't believe that. Yeah, there are a handful of scholars who would accept that as a point. So where does it come from? So based on that one hadith, some scholars would take that not as part of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, rather from the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with which every human being get a soul as a blessing, as a light, as eternal something. If that is the interpretation of that light, and they claim that this is the first light that was created as a creation, was Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's light, then this is at the most a personal aqidah, individual aqidah, for which there could be difference of opinion, legitimate one, because it's all based on interpretation. It has nothing to do with, as I said, essential aqidah that will make one Muslim, or leaving it would amount to kufr, disbelief. And it is not orthodox aqidah that believing in it is a must, otherwise you will be from deviant sects, from Muslims. So it is only possibly a personal aqidah, and it would not make anyone come out of the fold of orthodoxy. This is the maximum they can claim with this understanding, although even for that it is not sound. So no one can say, you know what, if you do not believe in it, you are not Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Not at all. No one has ever said that, and no one can say it. It's like, did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on Mi'raj? The Sahaba differed on that. Some say yes, some say not. Some say it was that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke to him, yes, but not revealed his appearance to him. So it is very, very personal level understanding, and there is legitimate difference of opinion in certain matters. So this particular concept, whether Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam the first, is not at all agreed upon, and people can have whatever different view, because it's not going to be ours on the day of judgment. So this is not part of our essential curriculum that one needs to know about. We can have whatever view. So some people, out of their love for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, would, believe that. That's fine, but that's personal level understanding, has nothing to do with aqidah of Ahl Sunnah, or even more so of Islam. So that's the first point. With regards to the shadow of Rasul, again, this is personal understanding, has nothing to do with Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. There is no clear report about it. There are certain reports that people suggested all week, and as I said, it doesn't establish even the orthodoxy. Obviously, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted it like that, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam no shadow, then why not? That we have no problem with that. That could be a blessing or whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted it to be like. So what? We have no problem against it. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is such a beautiful and beloved creation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he could have opted to give him whatever and not anything that he doesn't want. That no problem, except that we haven't got enough evidence for it, and that is why we cannot consider this to be any aqidah point, and Ummah has not taken it to mean anything other than a personal level aqidah, which is fine. No one would be questioned about it. One doesn't have to believe in it to qualify as a Muslim or Orthodox Muslim. Okay. Finally, the third point, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was, when he was born, there's that he just bowed down in sajda. Again, no Sahih report. It would have been quite easy for everyone to believe at that point if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted it like that. So again, people just come up with certain notions and ideas based on many weak hadiths. But again, these are all, as I said, individual understanding. None of that is part of Iman. So those who want to take that as their personal understanding out of love, this is not going to be asked on the Day of Judgment, provided they do not make it so essential that those who do not believe in it are declared heretics or whatever. Then this would be a problem for them, not for anyone else. Anyway, so I think it should have clarified the fact that we shouldn't be discussing these matters, number one, even if you were a scholar of deen and a quite high rank level scholar, even then it is disliked, let alone for someone who is not a scholar. This is almost, well, impermissible. May Allah give us tawfiq to understand and not waste our time, especially in Ramadan, in wasteful debates. Jazakallah khair.